Hi, I want to talk to you about herbal first aid. Now, on my website, on madherbalist.com, you can go there and get a whole comprehensive course right now on herbal first aid and emergency preparedness. People are telling me this is the most wonderful, comprehensive course I've ever done. People are telling me that this course, they love all of my courses on madherbalist.com, where I teach you to be your own natural healing master. And whether you want to heal at home or whether you want a profession out of natural healing, I teach you to be a master of it. And people tell me that they love all of my stuff, but that there's something special about that first aid course that's up there, that first aid and emergency preparedness course. Right now, I want to share a little of that with you. I want to give you something free, gratis. I want you to be able to experience a little taste of what it is, and I absolutely want to be able to help you. So we're going to be doing a few of these videos about first aid. The first one, I want to talk to you about cayenne pepper, strokes, heart attack, and shock and bleeding. You may be surprised to discover that 100% of the people who die on this planet actually die of shock. Everybody dies of shock. And when you are on the verge of shock, there is an herb that will pull you back in seconds and give you a little longer, give you another chance, give you the possibility of stretching things out just a little bit further. If things are really bad shape, I don't know, maybe it's not going to pull you through. Life does depend on a lot of factors, and some of them can't be controlled. But so often people die who could have been pulled back and might have had hours, days, weeks, or they may have even recovered if they were given more of a chance. And cayenne pepper, in 10 to 15 seconds, can completely stop all symptoms of shock. And if there's any hope of pulling that person back from the clutches of death, that cayenne is going to pull them back and give them a chance to respond to another therapy, to respond to another natural healing herbal medicine where we can miraculously start to put life back into their body, to respond and give us time to do any therapies we can think of, medical or alternative or natural, however we want to approach it. But we can get a little bit of time out of it, because cayenne pepper will get the fluid that's being lost out of the blood back into the blood, the proteins, the albumin that are being lost out of the blood back into the blood, and the tissue becomes electrical again, and the lymphatic vessels that are getting filled up with fluid will jump to life and start to pull that fluid back on board the body, so that the person does not lose all their blood volume, which shock is hypoalbuminemia, which means that there's low albumin in the blood. Now, albumin's a protein, and all of the proteins in the blood, but especially certain blood proteins, albumin being one of them, are involved with pulling fluids back into the bloodstream, so that when the blood shows up at capillaries where there's going to be nutrient exchange with your cells, you don't just lose all your blood volume right there. Okay, that's protected against by the proteins that don't go through those capillaries. But in certain conditions, when you go into shock, those capillaries dilate way big, and the holes in the capillary walls that allow nutrients through get great big, and those proteins can then start to squeeze through there, and you can lose very quickly all of your blood volume, and you don't have enough circulation for your vital organs, and then you die. Your heart stops, your brain dies, there's no blood supply, you die. Okay, and that is shock. Shock, actually, many people will have an injury or have pain, and they will start to get nauseous and maybe throw up. And that is an early symptom and the most universal symptom of shock. And you can pull a person out of that with the cayenne and get things stable again. And in the meanwhile, because it does pull off the excess fluid, you might get oxygen to the tissue in pain, if it happens to be a case of pain, and that tissue might recover and stop hurting. That's one of the things that cayenne does. The only time you ever have pain is when there's no oxygen to that tissue. Once the fluid is pulled off and the oxygen can get in, the pain just goes away all by itself. And I teach you in that course how to control pain using these techniques. Now, I promised I would tell you about bleeding. The same thing that happens with the leakage of blood into your interstitial spaces, the spaces between your cells. The same way that Cayenne controls that, it controls bleeding throughout the body. It doesn't cause your blood to hyperclot. It's not going to create blockages throughout your body. No way. In fact, Cayenne thins your blood just a little bit, but it will stop bleeding in 10 to 15 seconds. It doesn't really work on your fingers, but it will work anywhere else in your body. No matter what happened, it will stop bleeding in 10 to 15 seconds. If it's not a major artery that's been cut that's completely out of control, the Cayenne will stop the bleeding, and it will do it very quickly because it helps to pull that back into solution. Something magical happens to the blood that we can't even explain medically. We just know that it occurs because herbalists have been using Cayenne that way for many years. My own daughter slipped and fell on the bathroom floor and hit the back of her head with one of those sickening thuds where you know something is wrong. And she started hemorrhaging from the nose, and we knew that the chance of her bleeding inside her head was high. And I gave her Cayenne, and I never worried about a thing. And in a few seconds, I think it took 12, maybe 15 seconds, her bleeding stopped. I tell the story in my course, and we completely contained it, and she was just fine, and she never had another symptom. And that's the power and beauty of Cayenne. But Cayenne will work the other way too. When circulation is blocked with plaque or constricted arteries or a embolus or some other kind of blockage, whether it's in the brain or whether it's in the heart, in 10 to 15 seconds, that Cayenne is going to open that up, and the blood is going to rush in there, and it's going to feed the brain. It's going to feed the heart, and you're going to be able to survive. Dr. Christopher dealt with heart attacks. Dr. John R. Christopher was my first natural healing mentor, and he dealt with heart attacks all the time. For 35 years, he went in on heart attack calls when he was practicing, and in 35 years, he never lost a heart attack victim because he would show up and kind of bring them around, and on his way over, before he left, he would tell them, all right, you get hot water on the stove. And he would show up, and they had some piping hot water, and he would stir a tablespoonful of cayenne pepper into that hot water and stir it up and give it to them to drink. He'd just kind of bring them around, and they would come around enough that they could sort of drink, and he would have them drink it. And he had people that in 3 to 5 minutes were up and around, feeling good. And these are people who had heart attacks in the past, some of them, and were down for months, knew they were going to be down for months. And in 3 to 5 minutes, these people were up and around and feeling pretty good, and their heart was protected and coming back online, and the circulation was in there. And he treated strokes the same way, and he and a contemporary of his, Jethro Kloss, always used abundant doses of cayenne pepper immediately and also progressively until the symptoms of the stroke were gone. They both said if you can get to it right away, you can just erase the stroke and be like it never happened. If you get to it later, it's going to be more work, but cayenne will open it up and get blood in there where things are starting to die, and it will breathe life back into there. And if it can be brought back to life, and believe me, it can be brought back to life way later than we think it can. But if it can, if it's in that window, which, as I said, is broader than we think, then it will come back to life. And that tissue will start to work again. And it's going to take a little bit longer, but you can do amazing things. And then we have other herbs that go in there and do the rebuilding. But hey, that's what the courses are about at matterbliss.com. They're about teaching you to rebuild your body, to regenerate your body, to actually heal, cleanse, rebuild, stabilize, normalize, optimize your body. And I cover everything from how to use herbs effectively to the mind-body element of things using some research and programs that are unlike anything we've ever seen before, that is literally light years ahead of what has been done heretofore, that can completely renovate your life, and you do it to yourself for free in the form of a 1-5 subject notebook. And so I want you to go to my website, and I want you to check that out. And I want you to be back here for more free information that I'm going to give from time to time that's going to help you be able to get your health in your hands and take charge of healing your body and being responsible for keeping it well and healing it if you get in trouble. Thank you.